Thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh,
Have
I
a
was-
go. I messed up.
All formal over here.
Sorry. Thought we were supposed to be.
You're thinking this is a professional operation. So over the last couple of weeks, we have been trying to share through our newsletter about resources that are available in the community to help businesses grow and to help just our community in general grow. And so this month, we wanted to go a bit of a different direction and talk about a resource that some of our municipalities and counties have available. So over the last few weeks, we have been working with our congressman's office and his representatives on looking at some federal funding for infrastructure projects. And because of that work, I thought it'd be fun today for us to talk about the Hardinsburg city water system. I know this is something that really impacts a lot of people throughout the county that we don't talk a lot about and get into the details of how it works. So joining me today, Mr. Brett Mingus, to talk to us about city water.
Thanks for having me. My name is Brett Mingus. I'm the project leader for Veolia in Hardinsburg. We oversee the water, sewer, trash, and city maintenance for the city of Hardinsburg. So,
Thank you for joining. I haven't done an interview before like this, so it's going to be a learning experience for all of us. So we have kind of a unique situation in Breckinridge County where the city is running water for the county, and whereas most counties, the county government operates that. So can you kind of give us some history behind why the city of Hardinsburg is operating the water system?
So way back in the day, there used to be 4 water systems in the county: Hardinsburg, Irvington, Cloverport, and Kingswood.
Oh, I didn't even know about Kingswood. Learn something new.
So Kingswood's water system failed in the 70s. And at that point, the state went to the county and said, we've got a water system that's failed, and we're needing somebody to provide them water. They declined that opportunity. So the closest water system to Kingswood, which was Hardinsburg, got the call that they're going to help supply water. Now, they did get grant money and loans, low interest loans, to put a new water plant on Rough River and provide water to Kingswood, and then they would also be able to pick up all customers between the Rough River plant and town. So they picked up everybody on that 60 stretch and 259 south. So that's how they started getting out in the county.
Okay. And then over time, there's more systems became involved, correct?
Yeah, after that, in the 70s, the 80s, Irvington's water system failed. Irvington wanted to put a water plant on Rough River. They were told they would not get funding for that because there was already a plant on Rough River, and they said, you will buy from Hardinsburg. Hardinsburg had the privilege of taking out another loan and some grant money to run that water line all the way to Irvington. Now the city did get to pick up all the customers in between. And then sometime in the, don't know exactly, Custer school was then also, they needed safe drinking water for the school system. So Custer ended up being part of that, and that was the 86 project. Don't have a year on that. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
So it started out of kind of necessity as different places needed water that already had it but couldn't maintain their system, that the city started to expand out from there.
Yes.
So can you explain the relationship between the city and Veolia?
So back in the day, the city used to actually operate all their utilities by themselves. And at one point, they kind of got into a struggle, wasn't really sure how to operate stuff, or wasn't efficient doing it. So the mayor now, Wayne, was a council member and was trying to just seek out anyone that knew what to do. That's what he would tell me. And he come across a company that was Veolia now, which went through a few names over the years. And that's kind of how that relationship started. And so then Veolia, and that was in '95, whenever they started doing contract operations. And ever since then, Veolia has kind of had helped kind of expand the system and kind of give ideas. I know when the new water plant was built, Mike Masterson had a lot of say-so and different stuff that was going in the plant, just because he worked it every day. He knew what wasn't working at Rough River. He knew what needed to be done, what would be nice to see, so that way, we can dial in and see the plant. We don't need somebody there if something goes on. So And then Veolia, big corporation, there's a lot of stuff that Veolia can purchase at a very discounted price that the city, doesn't get as good a deal on. So it kind of is a cost savings to an extent too. So that's kind of how that started.
Yeah, and our plant out at Holt's Bottoms is a pretty unique kind of plant. So what's special about that facility?
So that's a reverse osmosis water treatment facility, and it is the only one in the state of Kentucky. There is one more actually in the process of getting built, and it's in Lewisport. It's going to be the number 2 in the state. But
we were here first.
We were here first. But no, it was the first RO facility that actually provided drinking water to customers. Now there's a lot of RO in factories, but there's none in Kentucky that do what we do. So it's Cadillac.
Yeah, we're fancy. So that relationship with Veolia and them coming in, I know was part of the city continuing to be able to expand. So at what point did the city, after taking on these other systems, start to further pushing out into the county?
That was basically in the early to mid 2007 is when the water plant on Holt's Bottom went active. Whenever they took out the loan to put that plant in, that's when they started running lines all over the place. They ran them all the way out to in different places in Rough River, went so far out 992, went out 261 north, 259 north, 144. I mean, they really ran a bunch of lines. And to today, we have over 450 miles there. Wow. So we got 450 miles of water line that we maintain, and honestly, we probably don't have 35 miles in the city. Mm-hmm. So most of the water system is actually out in the county. And so when the new plant was being built, that's when those lines really extended. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years after the plant was up and operational, the city of Cloverport then made the decision that they would rather, don't know the details on that, but they closed down their water treatment facility and decided that they would rather purchase from Hardinsburg. Hardinsburg once again had to use loans and grants to run the water system to Cloverport to provide that service. So that was 2009. Mm-hmm. So 2007 to 2012 was a busy running lines everywhere.
So that's a really aggressive expansion. I mean, in the last 20 years then, we've got the big map behind us. But a lot of this expansion then happened within a 20-year period.
It did, yes. Yeah, most pretty much in the 89 before would have all been just what's on Highway 60 to Irvington, 259 to the old water plant in town. And that was pretty much it. Probably missing one, but that's pretty well most of it.
Close enough. So how many households roughly do you serve in Hardinsburg?
In Hardinsburg, it would be around 2,000. Okay. We have over 7,000 active meters, so you could say two in town, 5 out of town. I think we have around 8,000 total, a little over 8,000 total meters, but some of them are inactive or vacant for whatever reasons. So.
Do we know roughly what % of the population in Breckinridge County has access to city water?
We would estimate 55 to 60%. We think we have 40 to 45% unserved.
And so when we're talking about having access to water, there is a difference in that and people who are actively served. Could you kind of break down that difference?
So I guess if somebody lives on a county road but the water line goes up on the state road, I mean, I guess they have access to it, but their access would be they would have to put the meter up. They would have to get an easement from somebody allowing us to set a meter on their property, and they'd have to run that line all the way back to wherever they're at. So, I mean, technically they have access, but it's probably not the funnest access to have.
There's a big difference in affordability in access versus actually being served. And on the note of affordability, so this is pretty expensive. How has the city funded these projects over the years? I know you've mentioned this a little bit with some of the plants and how that started.
So the water back in the day when we had to serve other systems that failed, there was grant money with low interest loans. The city has still had luck getting low interest loans over the years. But right now they've got over $15 million in debt on water alone. So the only way for them to fund these projects is to try to get some grant money with a low interest loan. We got a lot of expensive projects that we want to do. It's just they all cost quite a bit of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of strategy, a lot of research to figure out how to put these different resources together to fully fund a project. Because a lot of the grants require a loan to go along with them or a match from the city. So stacking a lot of different resources together is necessary to make these things possible. Other than money, I know like there's all kinds of projects that you all would like to be building out and already have designed and are ready to go. What are some of the obstacles, again, besides funding, to making that happen?
So your system has to hydraulically show that it can provide the correct amount of flow and pressure down these roads. So some people might say, well, we're only 5 miles down this road and you'll pick up all these customers. And they're not wrong. But if it's part of the system that has to be looped back around to get to a higher pressure zone to give them adequate pressure, well, we don't have to go 5 miles, we gotta go 16. Highway 86 is that example. We can go down 86 so far on a project and it'll be okay, but if we go much further, we kind of get into a spot where we're not gonna have the adequate flow and pressure because it needs to be fed from the plant side. So it's just stuff like that you run into, and then what you mentioned on funding, grants and loans. If you don't get some grant money, it's hard to take out a $10 million loan. As you know, I think it's been said before, the water plant is estimated to be a $10 to $11 million expansion process. So, that's going to be tough to afford without any grants at all. And a low interest loan, the best ones are if you can go SRF, and they're only 20-year loans.
What does that stand for?
State revolving fund. Yeah. So, there's other options, but you go from a 1.75% interest rate to the 4s, and then that doesn't make it any easier. So, that's tough. And then if you are getting grant money or even loans from rural development, there's a lot of red tape. You've got to go through a lot of tribal stuff just to make sure that there's no tribal burial grounds, stuff like that. And there's just a lot too people don't think about, and there's a lot of projects that we've done that it seemed like it took a year just for the environmental to just give a thumbs up on it, and it's tough. So,
and on the plant expansion, so why do we need a plant expansion?
So we have Division of Water grades us as a 2.3 million gallon a day facility. So basically, can we pump out more water than that? Yes. But the redundancy says that we can do 2.3. If we have issues with the plant, we can still put out 2.3. Well, for us to serve the whole county, we believe we'll need our 3rd RO train, which would then expand our facility.
Reverse osmosis.
Which would then take us to 3.4 to 3.5 million gallons a day. And we feel like we're probably going to have to get there to that to be able to expand water to the whole county.
And selfishly, we want everyone in their homes to have water, but we also want to make sure that we can bring on new commercial users, which tend to use more water than residences. So, we've long worked with the city on this project because we think that expanding the plant and having that abundant access to water is not just critical for the housing development and for getting water to all the existing residences, but also for industrial development. So. Big supporters of expanding the plant here at Breck United. Oh no, the phone's ringing. So, how many projects do you all have designed and ready to go that we don't have funding for at this time?
So ready to go, I would say 0, because everything has a preliminary cost and it's drawn out. But normally we don't get into the engineering of everything until there's some funding for that project. I've got on paper roughly 30 projects that are water line extensions only. Now I say 30 projects, it's not 30 roads, it's 30 projects. I might have 7 roads in one project.
Mhm.
So, I would say we have close to 30 projects. We've got a lot of state roads on there. We've got a lot of county roads on there. If somebody handed us a load of money today, we could start with the engineers tomorrow and say, all right, start designing this area we're gonna do. That part's not a problem. It's just, we're not going that in depth or that far until there's some money there to actually do something with, so.
And if someone reaches out and they're like, I want water to my house, what's the process of kind of putting together a project? You said there's multiple roads in these. What are you all thinking about when you're putting together a project?
I guess the first thing is we need to know where they're at. So then we'll probably go out there and see, well, how close are they to the water system? Then at that point, if the water line's not going by their home or their road, that's when I probably could communicate with them and say, all right, so the water line's up here on Highway 60. You're off a county road and you're 2 miles from it. So right now, if you want to do something today, you can come purchase a meter and get an easement from somebody allowed to set the meter up there. If it's something you want to have designed, I can get with our engineers and design a water main to go back there, but understand that there's no funding for that. So then it's at that point, do they want to, before that line get down there? And that's a very expensive cost, and usually a lot of people say no, unless there's, we have had a few projects where there's been multiple people at a road that have come together to actually fund a water line. They would actually give the contractor, and all we ask them to do is just put it into our specs, and that's happened quite a few times. But for one person going that far, I wouldn't do it. So.
No, knowing what they cost, I wouldn't be able to either. So just kind of as an example of maybe one of the projects that you've already kind of planned out, like what is the average cost per household to extend a line? I know that varies depending on.
It does vary. I looked at a few roads before I come over here just to kind of get an idea, but certain roads, like 629 is a road that we would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that road is going to cost over $1 million. Well, let's just call it $1 million. We're projecting to pick up 35 customers, and this is the 629 from 261 to 992. We're projecting 35 customers, $1 million. You do the math; it's going to cost quite a bit per customer.
I'm not that good at math.
I can get the calculator out. It's going to cost a lot, and that's where I would say the minimum bill for if you're out in the county is around $36, $37. So just after everything's in, you're $40. Well, if you use 2,000 or less. Well, $40, 35 times. That's a good amount of money, but
It's
still
not
a
$1 million.
long way to go to get to $1 million.
Yeah.
So, and when these loans are normally taken out, it's taken out for 20 to 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of loans that don't pay out until the 40s, 50s, and we got one in 60. We do have some loans that are getting closer to being paid off, but it's still got some years ahead. So.
Yeah, it's not something in any of this work where it's going to pay for itself, really. Not without getting a grant or subsidized loan.
Right. Yeah, these are not going to be paid anytime soon. And when water systems make that decision, they know, when they take that loan out that it's going to be 40 to 60 years down the road before that line's paid for. But I think the people that are making the decisions want what's best for the generations after them. And then our council members do a great job of I think they visualize that way. I can't speak for them, but I think they visualize that way. And I think if they knew that they could make the payments on these lines, they would do it. But we're paying $1.5 million a year in loans now, and that's a stretch to really want to add a whole lot more until you get a couple of them paid down.
Yeah, 'cause, the city of Hardinsburg's got 2,400 people, roughly population. Not all of those, of course, are going to be taxpayers. So you've got a really limited tax base holding up that mass amount of debt. So it is hard to continue to put more debt on top of that.
Right, and then like I said, you still got your customers in the county that are paying water bills, and like I said, there's money coming in, but there's money coming in for what we have. We take out more money, we don't have that yet, and then we're gonna have to add those customer rates, and it's not gonna offset for a very long time. So it's best to try to get some things paid down, and then attack the next thing.
So, we kind of started this by mentioning that we're thinking about different resources that are available to support growth in the community, and that we're just submitted an application for some federal funding. And not to go into too much detail about which projects specifically you are looking for, but kind of what was the determination on what you all were going to apply for this time?
So we tried to prioritize water line extensions. We did choose 4 roads. We are hoping to get what they had said was, I think it was up to a $3 million match. We're hoping to get it. If we don't, then we'll probably have to make decisions on which roads. So we thought in the last one we applied for was for the plant.
And there was some money received for
There
the
was,
plant.
we did receive $1 million. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a $10 to $11 million project, so we're trying to find what's the best route to use that $1 million at the plant. So now we thought, well, our plant's expanded enough now to where we can still serve water lines in the system. So we thought, well, let's just try to see if we can hit some of these more populated roads to see if maybe we can get some of that funding to help some of them people. So that was the thought and goal.
All right. Well, anything else we need to know?
I don't think so.
Okay. If anyone calls, I'll tell them to go straight to you.
That'll work. That'll work.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
No,
I messed up.
All formal over here.
Sorry. Thought we were supposed to be.
You're thinking this is a professional operation.
That's the way I take everything.
Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us. There's going to be a questions tab at the bottom of our newsletter if you want to submit questions, or how is the best way to reach the city with questions?
Call City Hall. 270-756-2213.
Thank you. So we're back. Little addition to our conversation. After we talked last time, we were looking over our video and thought a few things that we wanted to add. So, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Can you give us some insight into what goes into everyone's bill?
So if you're in town, there's multiple charges. You've got your water charge, your sewer charge, and your trash. So if you're in town and you have access to all 3, those will all 3 be on your bill. There'll also be a system development charge on there. And that development charge basically is for if we get your reading cellularly, or if we have to drive by and pick it up with a radio read system. There's a charge for the city to actually use those services to get those readings. So that's why those are the case. If you're out of town, obviously water's the only thing we're really providing out of town. They'll just see water, and they'll also see that system development charge on there, and that's truly just to get the reading. I know people in the past have kind of mentioned that they don't know that the city comes out and reads the meter. Well, we do, but we don't always have to just go to the meter and look at the reading. We can drive by it. The tablet will actually pick up that signal from the meter. Now, we do have issues in the past, and we will have them in the future, that some of them are not going to read. Then we will have to go there and put eyes on it and get an actual reading. But most of the time now, they're going to be radio read, or they're going to come in cellularly.
And with a limited amount of staff in such a big county, I would think relying on technology to assist with that is a necessity.
Yeah, it's not possible for 1 or 2 guys to manually read every meter in town when not in town, the whole county. We used to read manually in town, and it took a week just to read town. So if there's 5,000 more meters out of town, probably can't get that done in a month before billing.
You need a helper.
Yeah, right.
And then when people are seeing their bills, they usually see a round number.
Yep.
Right? So why is that?
So the city bills in thousands. So if you use 4,500 gallons, you're billed for 4,000. That 500 will roll over to the next month. And then that next month, if you use 4,500 gallons again, you will then get billed for 5,000 because it's taking the 4,500 plus the 500 from the month before that rolled over, and that's how you get your 4,000, your 5,000, your 6,000, your 3,000, whatever the situation may be. That's how the billing system actually works. We bill in thousands.
Okay. So don't be afraid, guys. You're not magically using exactly the same amount of water every month. That would be cool. but that's that's not why your bill looks like that. So, anything else that that you want to add?
I think we've cleared it up this time.
Okay, so we've talked about building stuff and infrastructure development and some funding resources, and now we've covered how the billing works. So I think we've hopefully made a full circle picture. This was not a circle. It was like overlapping ovals, but whatever it is, we've hopefully given the full picture of how things are working with Hardinsburg Municipal Utilities. So thank you again
Thank you.
for coming over and talking, and thanks guys for checking this out.